Resuming Nerd World Order broadcast. Dinophones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I'm the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, here comes the...
Booyah! What's up? It's your boy Joe. What's good, everybody?
And to my other right, weighing in at 178 adamantium-filled pounds, coming straight out of Krakoa, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
G!
To my other right, coming from Jurassic Park, it's the Jurassic Classic himself, Steven.
That was the best intro ever.
No, this is the best intro ever. Interesting fact about this guy, League of Legends was called League of Moderately Interesting People before Gabe started playing. Ladies, gentlemen, and knights, this is Gabe.
I can't believe that's the first thing people are going to hear about me. My reputation is destroyed.
What reputation?
Okay, gentlemen, let's get into this Nerd World Order broadcast. Nerd World Order broadcast is the official broadcast of the Nerd World Order community. Today, we have with us two scholars of cinema. We have Gabe and we have Steven, direct from the Cult Popcast. How you gentlemen doing?
We're here, and I'm excited. I don't know about Gabe.
I don't know what I'm doing here, Dukes, but I feel great.
Gabe resorts to voices when he feels uncomfortable.
I feel great.
Well, that's good to know. Let's see here. I think I got some funny voices myself, and I know Joe's got a few as well. X, do you have any funny voices for us?
Oh, Hannah means family. Family means nobody gets left behind. Oh, forgot.
That was a good one.
That was pretty good. So let me start off by telling the Knights of the Nerd World Order a little bit about the Cult Popcast. They have been instrumental in the progress that we've had in the Nerd World Order. As far as, just so you guys know, Steven's been behind the scenes helping me out with audio. We get a lot of inspiration from the show. And when I say that these guys are scholars of cinema, that's really an understatement. So for a long time, I've been wanting to have the guys on the show. Joe and I have been talking about it for a while, and they were introduced to us by the X-Man himself. And so the opportunity to introduce the Nerd World Order to the guys that we talk about on a regular basis, the guys we talk to on a regular basis, I'm just excited to make this happen. Let's start off with the basics. Gabe, Steven, Gabe, in no particular order. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Steven, you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to. Okay. I'm not really great about speaking about myself. Unless it happens naturally. I can say I'm married. I have 2 kids that are fresh out of the womb. And yeah, I love film. I love television, all sorts of media. And Gabe and I met in film school.
In the summer of '95.
That's not true. Well, we met in film school because I went back to school after I had already gotten a degree in something else. Let's call it theology. And then that's what it was. And then I went back to school because I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something in film. So, and then I met Gabe there, and Gabe was immediately someone that I was going to say attracted to, but I was interested in because he stood apart from being just a little bit more down to earth, I guess, and he seemed to have the it factor that I like in friends, and then
Kind of stood out from the weird film school crowd.
yes,
Like the pretentious scumbags.
he was always down to just have a normal conversation. Everyone else was a little strange. Film school is a weird place. And then he decided to quit film school and then ghosted me for like 6 years.
Yeah, I abandoned you.
That was an actual thing that happened.
I did.
And then I went into a Chinese food restaurant, and he was working the counter.
Found me.
And I said, "What are you doing here right now?
I'm serving Chinese food.
And you should come work at the place that I work, which is a film place." And I'll leave it at that. IMAX. We work in IMAX place.
Yeah.
And here we are.
We just scrape the stars every night.
Gabe, and then I was like, "We should start a podcast." And he's like, "Yeah, I've always wanted to do that." And I was like, "We should do it then."
We love talking all the movies that are happening.
Yeah, it is interesting. Sometimes I'll catch ourselves discussing something just out in the other room because we're in the place where we work right now, and I'm like, the podcast that we record that everyone hears is just actual conversation that happens between us in a very natural kind of flowing way.
And 2019 was such a crazy year for movies too. I think it was like right January of 2020, right before the pandemic, that we started doing the cast, and then that sort of carried us through the quarantine because everyone else had left work, and it was just basically me and Steven here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's passion, like the thing. We love talking movies and other stuff. It's not just movies. We do like music sometimes and
video games.
Occasionally, I think we did a book once.
Episode 99 was our book.
Yeah, we did Dune. That was rad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little bit younger than the average age, I think, of this cast. But I fell in love with video games first, and then movies and books and stuff like that came a little bit later. I wore out the VHS of the original Star Wars trilogy as a kid. And then it was later in life when I finally found out about everything else, like comics. And so I was late to the game for stuff like that. So, but superhero movies and
I've been catching them up for the last couple of years.
Yeah, Steven's given me a crash course in everything from Spider-Man to Batman to
food.
Yeah, food as well. Have we done a food review? I think we
should do a food cast.
Yeah, we did a fake sponsor from Sycar Donuts once. That was fun.
Yeah, represent Sycar. Those donuts are amazing.
I love your fake commercials.
We need to do more. Anyway, sorry.
That's it.
We could talk.
That's it.
We could talk.
Yeah, I follow a lot of games still. Like not classic, but like current video games. So that's, I guess, where my niche is like less comic oriented and more video game.
Gabe, let me ask you a question. Have you at all played Elden Ring yet?
I haven't played it yet, but I've been checking it out a lot, and it looks super dope.
What have you been checking it out on?
You mean like how have I been watching?
Like what platform? Yeah,
I watch some Twitch TV. It's a live streaming broadcast website, and not as much gaming as it used to be. Now there's some weird stuff on there, but
weird like what?
All kinds of stuff, Steven. You could find people broadcasting themselves eating dinner or like walking the streets of a foreign country and all kinds of stuff. But I've been watching a lot of Elden Ring lately, and it looks amazing. That's the kind of game you can really get lost in. And those are the kind of games that typically, like the single player, fantasy sci-fi RPG is where I can like sink hours and all that time into. So I love that stuff. I'll probably pick it up pretty soon. Have you played, Joe?
Well, I told my son to download it. He's kind of confiscated my PS5.
What?
So he's downloaded the game, and I'm like, yo, let me play. He's like, yo, wait. He goes, I'm gonna end up playing it more than you will end up playing it. And I'm like, I still want to play it because it looks dope. And like everyone at work is playing the game, whether it's PC or console, everyone's playing the game. And I'm like, it's super hard because I guess Dark Souls made it, right?
Oh yeah, it's those guys.
So it's super hard.
But I think it's a little more accessible because this one's a little bit more of an open world, kind of like a Breath of the Wild that last Zelda game.
Is it not Dark Souls?
It's basically a Dark Souls game.
It's Dark
Yeah.
Souls,
but it's a different
Dark
different
Souls-like.
title.
Okay, I didn't know.
But it's the same people that make Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dope. That's what's intriguing about your podcast because, you know, I can talk to Gabe about video games. I can talk to Steven about the superhero movies that he's catching you up on, and you're catching him up on video games. It's a beautiful family.
Yeah, we like to cover a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
On the cast, not just lock ourselves into one
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. It's whatever we're passionate about typically at the moment. So
I kind of like when we started the cast, I thought we should do like, well, I before I brought Gabe into it, I was thinking like I should start like a Marvel cast or something because Marvel's trending. A lot of Marvel casts immediately get popular, especially if they're good. And I have a lot of strong opinions about Marvel, whether they're popular opinions or not, doesn't matter. But
hot takes.
I didn't want to like focus our podcast into one thing. I wanted to like I want to be able to talk about anything at any time. And that's kind of the kind of basis for our podcast, I'd say, is I like the freedom to be able to like we even have a couple what we call ideology episodes where like we discuss capitalism for like an episode. And so those are always interesting too. It's actually one of our more popular episodes, which is weird, but
Crazy.
true.
People want to know what that's all about.
Mm-hmm.
What is capitalism?
So, what were your introductions into fandoms or nerd culture?
Steven's got many.
I could talk for hours about that. Like I could literally talk for hours about that. My introduction, I should say, into film was seeing Jurassic Park in '93. I was 6 and blew my mind. Even when I saw, even being 6 years old, I immediately started to try to find behind the scenes. That was a good call when you were like Jurassic Classic. I was like, damn. I felt known in that moment when you said that. But I would find like books on the shelves like in grocery stores that had like Steven Spielberg and completely dedicated to the behind the scenes of Jurassic Park. I was 6 years old and I was like looking for like how did they make that movie? And so I've been interested in that from a very early age. Earlier than that, I mean, I was drawing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I remember drawing some really awesome TNMT coming out of sewers and stuff. And then what happened after that? Power Rangers, because that was targeted at my demographic when I was that age. Eventually got into a little bit different stuff like X-Files, huge X-Files fan, big Lost fan. Started reading comics when I think I was like 13. It was right before Spider-Man came out, the first one. Started reading X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, like the actual book X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and there was the other one, Astonishing, I think started coming out in 2005-ish. And then was reading Spider-Man a lot. And then I started picking up like more ancillary stuff like Image and Dark Horse and stuff like that. So I've been pretty acquainted for the better part of a couple decades with comic book culture, like actually reading comics. I haven't for the last few years as I've had kids, but I could feel like I can hang in most nerd conversations because it's what occupies my mind space. Even last night, I was spent a good hour and a half before bed trying to acquaint myself with the varieties of dinosaurs from how they appear in Jurassic Park to how they actually are in real life. from the new discoveries that have taken place in archaeology and stuff. So,
Steven, don't be afraid to or embarrassed to mention Pokemon.
Yeah, where's that at?
yeah, Pokemon. I do like Pokemon. I have caught them all.
Nice.
Several times over.
And I've been playing the new game also as well.
How is that, by the way, Arceus?
Really good.
Arceus?
It's Arceus around the world. It's Arceus here because people thought that
Americans are stupid.
Well, that's one opinion. Yeah, but it's a really good game. It's one of the best Pokemon games that's been out in a while. So
nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of games, I know you're more of a gamer than a stereotypical nerd. Gabe, what was your introduction into gaming?
I grew up with Halo. From the very beginning. That was sort of where I started to sink my teeth into pop culture and specifically like genre stuff, like sci-fi. I mentioned like wearing out Star Wars VHS tapes, but it was Halo that really got me into the having an imagination as a kid into like the mythology behind crazy sci-fi opera fantasy stuff. So growing up with that was pretty integral to my development, I guess, or like what I liked and what I thought was possible in world building, I think, because that's my first love is like world building. And and I know Steven does this too. Sometimes I'll spend hours in a given day just like in my own headspace. Yeah. sometimes at work even, just like creating.
Do you procrastinate, kid?
No, I don't do that. No.
Yeah.
We're in case we're being recorded now. No, I don't. Yeah,
you're always being recorded.
We are being recorded, right?
Yeah, I will. That it was Halo that really galvanized that imagination as a kid for me, and I would attribute Halo was kind of like my Pokemon. It was my
for me, man.
Yeah, for comic books, it was my my respite. Too, because I moved around a lot as a kid, but I would spend a lot of time, even if I didn't have like an Xbox or whatever, I would be on, YouTube in the beginning of the YouTube days, like trying to find like what's latest in gaming and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I grew up. And then, I didn't get into other stuff like MOBAs until later on. That's why you mentioned League of Legends, but that's kind of where we're at now. Halo's where it started, and League's where we're at. So
League, I still can't believe you said League of Legends for Gabe. That's such a good call.
Yeah, how did you like?
You listened to the Arcane episode.
We listened to the Cult Podcast. See how easy that was on?
It's ridiculous.
So
I love it.
You're reading it off the screen, Joe. I see you reading it off the screen.
Bro, have you played the new Halo? What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't played Halo Infinite. I've been following that stuff very closely though, just because I'm very curious. Halo kind of, as the kids would say, fell off a little bit a few years ago with Halo 5. I think that was in 2015.
You are the kids though, aren't you?
I'm not the kids.
Halo's coming out with a show in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never been so anxious, I think, for a show than with the Halo show's been in production hell for 15 years. So,
what platform is it coming out on?
It's Paramount Plus. After going through several hands and like a bunch of showrunners.
I was watching Paramount Plus 2 nights ago.
What were you watching?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, there you go. We have some classics.
Yeah. Well, Paramount Plus is like a drug dealer of streaming services. Like, oh yeah, we'll give you the first one free, but then we get you hooked.
Yes, and they're really banking on Halo too to kind of buff that resume. They're launching ads right now where it's like obscure Paramount Plus, franchise characters,
right?
Or people that they've brought into the platform, and then it's like they're all like singing the Halo theme.
Right?
Is it the one that goes, I said a boom boom boom? Let me hear you say Halo.
No,
Halo.
That's not the Beyonce. No.
Yeah, you can be my Halo.
It's that Gregorian chant.
Halo.
It's weird. I can't wait to tear that show a new one when it finally comes out. It's later this month, I think. It's in
a couple weeks.
It's late March. Yeah.
It's 24th.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear your analysis on that one.
Yeah, oh man, even now I could tell you so much about what they're doing with that, but it'd probably be a waste of airtime. But yeah, that's what was the question?
Who are you?
Oh yeah. But yeah, I have been following Halo Infinite. There's some good and some bad. It's kind of a mixed bag. But ultimately what I think they want to do is set up like another 10 years of Halo with Halo Infinite, kind of like Bungie did with Destiny. They want to make a games as a service type of platform. So they're going to be putting all kinds of DLCs and expansions on that and just see what happens. I don't think it's going to do as well. Everyone's trying to get in on the latest thing, regardless of the industry. And right now, for video games, it's like games as a platform. So they're gonna sell the game up front with a small amount of content, and then they say they support that, in little bursts throughout the next how many years they want to run with that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of an underwhelming start. And they were plagued with some issues at launch. But I think we'll see what happens. I'm not as precious with Halo as I was as a kid because I'm older now and my interests are kind of in a different place. I love horror stuff now. I could talk your ear off about stuff that's going on there. I don't think we've done as many horror podcasts as
I enjoyed the last one that you do. Was it the Empty Room?
The Empty Man.
The Empty Man, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If you guys ever want to get spooked out a little bit, you should check that movie out. It's pretty good.
Or you could always ask Gabe and he'll give you some recs.
Yeah. But that's what I love now. Or little weird science fiction, like we had Possessor a year and a half ago, and that was Cronenberg's kid made that movie, and that was great. Mm-hmm. I love Cronenberg stuff. All that classic campy 80s vintage, sci-fi. I love that stuff. From the bad stuff to the good stuff, like Ridley Scott's Alien. Those are my favorite things now, as I've kind of grown up and I'm looking farther back into the past for, the things that kind of laid the groundwork for what, science fiction and horror is.
Yeah, and that's what inspires things today, like Stranger Things, for example, is a perfect pull. Was inspired by
Ghostbusters, yeah, all that stuff. The Thing, love it. That's my favorite stuff.
You're leading right into the next question. What's your favorite movie or TV show?
Of all time?
All time.
Oh,
wait, that's going to be tough. They struggle with their top 10. And they're always switching it up on your podcast. I gotta know.
Joe knows. Can't does it have to be one? Can I pick a movie and a TV show, or just one or the other?
Sure, why not?
Gabe, you go.
Spit it out, man.
Mine's pretty easy. For me, the way I determine what my favorite thing ultimately is, if someone were to ask me this question, which doesn't happen very often, but it's a thing that I usually will first, the first thing that comes to mind, that thing that is kind of at the base of, whatever I'm thinking about, when I'm trying to think of my own inspirations. Movie probably has got to be, honestly, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. In 82 is probably my favorite movie. Sometimes, depending on the day, how you catch me, it might be Kubrick's Space Odyssey or Alien, which is another Scott movie. Honestly, the fact that Ridley Scott did Alien and Blade Runner within a few years of each other back to back is crazy. So it'd probably have to be one of those.
Totally.
But show would be harder for me. I'd probably have to pick something pretty modern. And I wouldn't know for sure what to say there. I know I might have to second what Steven will probably say, which might be Lost. But I don't know. I think in recent years it's probably been Dark. Dark was a Netflix original show from Germany that really
Dark's incredible.
Really blew my mind in so many ways. But that's kind of modern bias or whatever you call that.
Yeah, but it's also good enough to hold up against the test of comparing it to other works, past works. The creator of that, his name is Baran Bo Odar, German fellow, and he's making a new show right now for Netflix because they're really banking on him, called 1899, and it's coming out, I think, this year.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's gonna be amazing. But Dark is an incredible show. But personally, Lost is definitely my favorite. Gabe will tell you, hugely nostalgic person, and my nostalgia, my idealism, and my lust for escapism for past things is just it regardless of whether something came out today that might be a better show than Lost for me as a show, and what Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse did with that show, and where I was at that point in my life when I experienced it, it all kind of ties together to be now my favorite thing, and it's hard to surpass. I just watched Devs, which impacted me in a similar way that Lost did when I experienced Lost. Experiencing Devs at this point in my life hit me in the same way, and I would say it's also up there with like one of my favorites now.
And there's Twin Peaks,
along with Twin Peaks and Twin Peaks: The Return, and what David Lynch did. And then there's X-Files as well. You could throw that in there, but yeah, Lost takes the cake because it was there first. It's like my first love kind of thing. And so then Jurassic Park is my favorite film because of that as well. But you know, I have many other favorite films.
I have many leather-bound books.
Yeah, I really like The Shining a lot. It's one of my faves.
The remake?
No, not Dr. Sleep.
Oh.
Which was an interesting film.
Yeah.
But The Shining. Yeah, Shining.
Did you guys do an episode on Dark?
Yeah,
We did, yeah.
Ah,
I think
you
it
have
was
to go back and find that one.
It was like 20 something or 30 something, really early on.
That was a juicier one. I think we kind of ran.
We
ran on
had
for a
like
while.
5 or 6 people on that episode, and it took me forever to edit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dark is good.
That is such a rich. My favorite stuff, and I'll stop after this because you got me rambling now. But it's all the stuff that is richest. That's why I like Blade Runner so much. It's the stuff that is richest in tone and atmosphere, and like complete immersion. And for me, Dark is something that every aspect of the filmmaking completely supported the voice and the identity of the show, and it just blew me away, like from start to finish. Even though I wish it would have taken more time to flesh out the things it was doing at the end, for what it is, it's probably still up there for me.
It's very good.
I want to take a second here and have give you a confession. I haven't seen Blade Runner.
What?
Dude, Alfie doesn't watch a lot of things, man.
I own it. I bought it on DVD a long time ago.
Which cut? 3 cuts of it.
There's 3 cuts now.
I think there's 4 cuts.
That's a lot of work. Which one do I want to watch?
You watch the final cut.
The final cut?
Watch the final.
And I will say, sometimes I think of like Denny's new Blade Runner as my favorite film because it's kind of a different way.
Yeah.
The new Blade Runner was just an insane movie, both in terms of like respecting the original and also bringing it into the next like era of filmmaking and cinema. It was like a complete masterpiece in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
And I'll die on that hill.
I think Denis Villeneuve is like our favorite filmmaker. I think we would agree on that. Like that's working today.
We stand Denny.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement.
Yeah, it's tough.
And Denny's does have that Moons Over Miami too. So
Yeah.
oops.
I haven't been to Denny's in years.
Dude. That's
I
what's
used to-
dope about like Steven and Gabe, because like if someone prepared a meal for me and gave it to me and I would eat it, I'd be like, that's pretty good. Where these two are like, I can taste this, and this taste derives from this person here. And if this person doesn't make it that way, it goes to this way. And there's another dude that was influenced by this guy to make this certain type of egg that you like that's made into this little meal that you're eating. And like that fascinates me every time I listen to you guys' podcast, is you guys always break it down for me where I'm like, I didn't know that. I would never think about that. It's very interesting.
I hope so. I hope. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I'm pretty lacking even in my like knowledge of film and like filmmaking. Like I haven't seen so many things. Like
Being modest.
No, I'm dead. Like I haven't seen The Godfather.
You're cute.
People kill me when they heard that. And I
But
was like,
there's a lot of people even working in the industry. I think I was watching a behind the scenes of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, like confessing the films that they haven't seen. They haven't seen like Gone with the Wind, like very classic films, and you don't have to see everything, but you know, to be well versed just means like, you know, just be curious and go try to find new stuff, and you know, that's the one thing I love doing like on our podcast. Like, I want to break it down to a point where it's like it's easy for someone to be like, oh, okay, like I get it. You know, I like saying things in as plain language as possible.
Opening the door for people to kind of find their own way into movies, into the history of movies.
Yeah. Or anything.
Because everyone's like, you know, you should never be afraid to like check something out. That's for sure.
Yeah. Curiosity is key in this world.
But I would never want to recommend certain weird stuff, you know, that I love, especially old.
You would never want to recommend?
No. I mean, you know, you can't just recommend like.
You can.
Like vintage, like some of the crazy Cronenberg stuff that I love.
You can
like
with a warning.
I would never say, "Mom, you gotta watch Videodrome right now."
Watch Videodrome, Mom.
Yeah, I would never say that to my mom because they're not, you know, it's not they're not ready for it, but they're just not.
They're not ready.
They're not ready.
It's been out for years. They're still not ready.
No, but yeah, but it is fun to do the cast for that reason. So kind of put it out there, and if people want it, you know, because you might see like 2 episodes next to each other. One of them is completely interesting to you, and you'll check that episode out.
Yeah.
You'll see the one before it and be like, oh, I don't really care about that at all. But it's there for you if you want.
If you want to taste it.
If you want to taste it. If you really want to taste
it. There's one tongue twister that Joe and Alfonso know I'm going to get wrong every single time. Can you explain the origin of the name, the Cult Popcast?
Shamefacedly, Gabe, go ahead.
There's a great non-story to that, to the answer to that question. Yeah.
What?
When we first wanted to start doing something like this in the beginning of 2020, we workshopped a lot of potential names, and pop culture is something that's like cornered to death for podcasts. Both as like a theme and as a naming convention. Like NPR has something I think we wanted to use. Like the first thought was, oh, what if we were just the pop culture podcast? Because that's pretty to the point and gets, you know, the clicks, I guess, so to speak. And so we played with a few ideas. I think at one point we had, what was it? I don't know.
Oh,
we kept getting pretty weird.
It was like pop up or something. Like it was like pop. But yeah, we liked pulp. We liked cults.
I don't know why we settled on this one. I think I loved it because it was a stupid tongue twister.
It's
there you go, Alan.
It's the words pop and cult like are derived from pop culture. Mm-hmm. And we also like the idea of like kind of culty, kind of more pulpy things, like I was saying. And then it's a podcast, so we threw the cast on it. So, and there's actually another podcast entitled The Popcast, and we knew that because it existed before we started, but we were like, whatever.
The main thing was I think we wanted to do one that hadn't been done before, and so the main reason I fell in love with it was because on a meta level, like Steven said, it had the cult
meta level,
the cult angle to it, and especially for some, like we like to sometimes get pretty deep into occasionally what we're talking about, and so that cult angle.
Oh, was the crash course?
The crash
or
course,
the pop culture crash?
The pop culture crash course. Yeah, it was just a mouthful. It was a mess.
Oh my god.
We're not branding geniuses, but I think this is just the kind of the one we settled on. So.
See, I'm showing the old logo, Pop Culture Podcast.
Yeah, we workshopped a couple things, but we didn't really have any focus groups or stuff. So
we didn't know what we were doing. I should also say there was a time pressure because our first episodes, because we're coming up on the Academy Awards this year, which is the 3rd time that we'll be covering it. The first time we did was the first 9 episodes or 10 episodes of our podcast, and so we were like, we got to start putting stuff out because the Academy Awards are like 2 or 3 weeks away. So there was this time pressure of like picking a name so we could just start putting out episodes.
Just do it.
And it was a total like mistake. I don't know.
I think the first couple episodes, you guys, play around with like, we're probably going to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've joked about.
I still
rebranding.
think about changing it. I'm like, I kind of.
At some point, we'll just do a sequel podcast and just.
Yeah,
completely
we'll
change
hit 999 episodes, which is like the limit that you can put online as a podcast, and we'll just do something else.
Just do the pop culture podcast.
Depending on if one of us dies or ghosts each other again.
Retires.
Yeah.
The name of your show is just that ugly child that you have to love.
Yeah, and we have learned to love it in that way. Yeah.
Truly, madly, deeply.
Yeah. It's also fun. We get to play with thumbnails on like Spotify, and we've done some cool stuff. Specifically, Steven's done some really cool stuff with the thumbnails, and we'll have like a naming convention, but with the images that we use. So like we'll use the blue for movies, and we'll use the green for TV, right?
Mm.
And then
Yes.
sometimes we'll do like different special stuff, like for
Orange, white, pink,
yeah.
Get a red.
red.
And it's like no one really cares, but it's
No
just
one
a fun
cares.
it's a fun thing to like for someone who does care. They have something a little bit to chew on there.
Was
Like,
yellow specifically for Invincible?
the yellow and blue was dope for Invincible.
Yeah, I like when you guys change the colors.
Dev's had a really sick one that you probably only know if you watched it.
We
I get it
we have
now.
more coming in.
I didn't get it when I watched it or when I listened to it,
Yeah.
but now I get it because I've seen it.
Yeah.
So,
It helps to know. The more you know.
The more you know.
The more-
So speaking of the more you know, I think for me personally, I get a lot out of the show. Like when you guys were talking about Dark, I watched Dark, didn't care for season 3, but now I'm thinking I should go back and rewatch it because you guys speak so highly of it. What do you hope that listeners get out of listening to the Cult Popcast?
The philosophy's in the bio, which is that
I really struggle with the bio because I've wanted to change it so many times, and I have changed it so many times, but I don't even think it's in there anymore.
no, maybe not.
Yeah,
I've never read your bio.
it's
whatever.
I think it says a pop culture podcasts for casual listeners and critical thinkers. But man, what that Alan, that's a really hard. I mean, it's not a hard question. It's just I think about it a lot actually because I think deep down, here's me getting really deep. Here's my theology degree coming out. I think deep down, like we as humans always, like everybody wants to be recognized or noticed for something. And when I was thinking about like doing a podcast at all, I was like, what kind of legacy would I want to leave behind? What would I want to be known for? Like, if I'm kind of always thinking, and this is sort of a morbid thought, but if I like died tomorrow, like what's the last thing I want people to hear? And so ultimately, I just hope people have a good time and enjoy themselves. So that's something I try to live by because I think having fun is part of it's one of the best parts of life. Everything should be fun, in my opinion. Unless it sucks, then it can't be fun. But if we can make everything fun, then it should be. And then secondly, that I hope they learn something. And I think that's why I said this in jest earlier, but curiosity is key to life. Like I think the more a person is curious, the more they can learn. And the more you learn, the more knowledge you gain, and the more knowledge you have, the more power you have.
Mhm.
Just in the world, the more you can do with that knowledge. And that starts with curiosity. I used to have an Albert Einstein quote that said something about curiosity. I think it said something like, "I'm not smart" or something. I'm only passionately curious. And I really love that because it kind of defines what I want the podcast to be is to explore the curiosity and the passion that we have. Because oftentimes people don't listen to people that aren't passionate. So the more you're passionate about a subject, the more, I think people will listen to a person who's passionate. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't know what Gabe thinks though about that.
It's a little different for me. On a superficial level, it is just fun to talk and shoot about, the stuff that's happening, and movies and shows are just kind of like one of the most readily accessible and biggest, most exciting topics to cover. I don't know. It aligns with our interests pretty much dead on, which is why we do that stuff mostly. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to dig into it a little bit more, like my personal philosophy is that no matter what the shape it takes or the texture that it has, that art is always something that is meant to provoke a response. And I think that's when it's good art is when it does that and it really challenges you. And so to kind of have a forum, to make a space available, even though it takes the form of just two people talking in a room, mm-hmm. but to kind of use that as a launching point for, not that we have a community, but to have that potential there, I think is an incredible opportunity to make a space where people can just, come together and talk about that stuff. Mm-hmm. Whether or not, like I said, it's just to enjoy it for what it is, or potentially to really deconstruct and break it apart, like Joe says, and maybe give that person the chance to see something that wasn't there for them on an initial viewing. And so that's the most rewarding part of it for me, is to, like Steven said, even if we're not the smartest people in the room, which is funny because there's only ever us two in the room. There's always something you can take away from what you're watching or what you're reading or what you're, flipping the pages through. Mm-hmm. So we try to look for those things. And there are times when we, will bring something up in a cast and it is like hearing it for the first time for the other person. And that little moment of discovery is one of the things that I think keep it so exciting and so fresh. Mm-hmm. And we have a pretty good chemistry, so that those things are pretty frequent. Those moments are frequent of discovery. I don't know. We're constantly it's like trying to get, chasing the high of not only the content, but deconstructing the content. I don't know. Yeah. I'm probably just not making it.
No. You are. I would just like to add that I agree with him.
Yeah. I don't know. I keep thinking of this. There's this proverb or maxim or whatever. I don't know who said it, but it's art is meant to disturb the comfortable and to comfort the disturbed. And so it's kind of a unique opportunity. Anyone can make a podcast, right? Anyone can put their voice out in the world in 2022, but there's a unique opportunity to do it in such a way that is open and warm and welcoming to
anyone.
So to there's no barrier to admittance, and you can just kind of listen and hopefully enjoy it or take something away from it. And that's, at the end of the day, all I can hope for.
Yeah. Or find something new.
Yeah. Something you may not have heard about, and then that becomes your favorite thing. It's crazy.
That's what happened with devs for me, just literally in the past couple of weeks.
So, one of the things that Gabe said was, you never want to be the smartest person in the room or something to that effect. And, that's really why I love listening to you guys and being on your show, because I feel like for myself and for Joe, and, I know Alfonso came on recently, but we've really elevated our game, or tried to elevate our game listening to you guys, whether it be from a production value. I was working on an episode and I seriously thought to myself, Steven is going to think this sounds like crap. And it did, but he didn't message me and tell me it sounds like crap, but it did. So I really appreciate, not just what you guys bring to the podcast, but also, number one, how you've helped us out. But number two, just what you bring every time with your podcast. Listeners get something out of it, but I think podcasters really appreciate the thought that you put into your episodes, the amount of research that you do on your episodes, and just from production value. Steven, I remember listening to the Spider-Man episode, and I to this day will say it's up there with any large production company that pushes out podcasts all the time. It's like the best thing I've ever heard. So you guys are just amazing. What are your plans, or what do you have ready for the rest of 2022?
Steven has a ledger, man. He has an itinerary.
I'll show you.
Oh yeah.
He's always tracking stuff that's coming out.
To quote John Hammond from Jurassic Park.
There's
How
like,
did you do this?
There's the immediate stuff, which is
show
like
you.
the next few weeks, or backlog stuff that we want to get out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But there's always new stuff that is coming out that we don't even know about yet.
That's okay. That's so true what he said. So I made a huge list. There's all the stuff for the year for film, and then all the stuff for the year for television. And then there's stuff that's not listed yet as far as there being a date for it. So we have dates for everything. And then obviously with television, we try to wait until all of the episodes have come out for that series to do an episode about it. And so when the television episode premieres, usually it's like 8 to 10 weeks later until we actually sit down to talk about it. But then there's a bunch of stuff, like Gabe said, that just comes, like, it just randomly pops up because streaming services, for whatever reason, they don't really announce their stuff. They do like a couple weeks or maybe a month before it comes out, and you're like, what's this? This looks cool. I've never even heard of it. And so we're constantly adding and changing that list.
This is going to be a crazy year, I think.
This year there's so much crap. I'm like, how do we stay afloat and keep our jobs
and support our families?
Yeah. I'm always kind of thinking, like, can we do less? Like, I want to do less because I feel like we're doing so many episodes. Because then there's the stuff we're actually passionate about. Like, we recorded an anime episode called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like, we recorded that episode back in November, and it's been sitting there unedited because I've been trying to stay current with like all the media and content that's coming out, but
gotta ride the wave.
And I think we're finally going to put it out here soon, in the next couple of weeks. But then we have the Academy Award season, and then all the Marvel stuff starts dropping. You got Moon Knight, you got Doctor Strange, you got a bunch of A24 movies that are coming out. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, or whatever the name of that movie is called.
Yeah.
After Yang just came out, I haven't seen it yet. But we could do an episode about that if it's good. That's another thing too, is like sometimes we'll watch something, or I'll watch something, or Gabe will watch something, and then we'll try to recommend it to each other. Much like you did with like Archive 81. That was something where I was like, should we do an episode about this? And we decided, yeah, it's worth it because like tonally it kind of meets to like where we think like the pulpy, culty aspect of our show kind of lies. I think you were spot on with that recommendation. But yeah, it's like, look, if you go on, just Google and go, movies 2022 or whatever, and look at the list or television shows, you can see like we have our finger on everything. Like, I'm currently watching Euphoria. I'm on season 2. We might do an episode about that.
And we're always trying to occasionally worm stuff in from the past too. Like,
yeah.
Like we just did 2 in the last few episodes from 2020.
Yeah.
So stuff comes out of the woodwork that either we're just in for the moment for really no reason, or in the case of Archive 81, it was to provide, I guess, greater context for that specific cast, because it was like we were going to keep talking about things that reminded us of. We might as well just do a cast on that.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to keep it relevant. So that's why we spent time doing those other things, in preparation. And then I'm always watching stuff, and so is Gabe, that we're probably never going to do a podcast about, like How I Met Your Father.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It's a great show. Like it's been fun, apart from a couple of the actors in it. But like, I don't feel good recommending that show, so I'm not going to do an episode on it. I might mention it in an episode, like, "Hey, I'm watching this, and it's happening to me." But
You
like,
can tell me about why you're watching it in a minute.
yeah. I have Bridgerton on the list, and I am not planning on. I don't even want to watch that show. I have it on my list because I know my wife might want to watch it.
You can solo cast that one.
And I solo cast a lot of our episodes because you don't watch it.
Oh, but I'm still sitting there.
I thought you were going to say that's single.
Beside the point, but yeah.
And I have the time to watch this. But anyway, yeah. There's what else is? I mean, there's so much stuff coming out. Like I said, I mean, later in the year, 1899, I have Clerks 3 up there, potentially coming out.
Got Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, yeah.
Obi-2.
I have Halo. We have Atlanta. Season 3 is coming out in a couple weeks here. Stranger Things is happening this year, Season 4. I had a couple friends work on that.
I think there's going to be a big movie dump, especially at the end of this year.
Yeah, December has Avatar 2. Like finally, the delayed sequel.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Aquaman sequel, Super Mario Brothers animated, December. There's the Brad Pitt, Tobey Maguire movie Babylon. The Flash is coming out in November. The new David O. Russell film's coming out in November, which is cool. The Black Panther sequel's coming out in November. It's gonna be like really full, and that's just movies. Like, and then often I'll find like an album that I like. I'm like, hey, can we do this album, please? Because I really like this music. Or there's a like video game like Elden Ring would be a perfect opportunity to do a video game episode because it's trending and it's hot. Neither of us have played it, like, and we don't even know how we would do an episode about it because although we would watch it on Twitch or something, like I
think I've watched enough. We could do a cast right now.
Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. But yeah, there's always something in the works, and then like I said, we've done 2 ideology episodes. There may be some of our most successful episodes we've ever done, and we have never done another one. So
we couldn't tell you why or how people find those.
I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do another.
I don't know. Our Midnight Mass episode did really well. I don't even look at statistics that much. That's something else. Is like I just know this because I happened to look the other day after like a year of not looking. But yeah, we put out Midnight Mass like in November, and I think it's our most successful episode ever at this point, which is weird. I think it's because it was such a weird show.
People wanted to like listen to people talking about that show.
Yeah,
Maybe not too many people covered it, and people were looking for that content.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the ticket. When you can find like that kind of niche like thing and kind of be like, oh, here we did an episode about that, then
yeah,
I feel like it's always a good thing.
And my older daughter recommended it to me the other day, and I'm like, oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah,
I've heard Gabe and Steve talk about that.
Yeah, it's really good.
We never want it to become like a job, like we have to cover this thing because it's trending or whatnot. Because we just want to do it if we want to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's a good thing to remember. Even now, as you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do Euphoria.
We should like we do a lot of casts. Like we've made a lot of friends over the podcast years doing podcaster like you guys, for instance. But I feel like sometimes we just do them just to do them, and I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't seem like we're ever losing that Steven and Gabe magic.
That might be the worst thing you've ever said.
No, I said some terrible things.
No, but that might be the worst. So
no,
anyway.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, I feel like it's pretty self-evident when you're listening to something, whether or not it's a podcast, and the hosts really aren't there for it, on the day. But I would never want to be part of that operation.
I'm most excited for this year. I don't think I've said this on the cast yet, but for the Lord of the Rings show.
Yeah.
I am
for that too.
Beyond excited about that. So pumped.
You know what would be fun to do? And anyone listening can steal this idea because it's a great idea. We should do a Bruce Willis cast because Bruce Willis has released like 6 movies in 2021.
What?
Yeah, you guys should look up this incredible factoid.
And nobody's watching them?
No, they're all like straight to DVD movies. How great would that podcast be, though? Like just to tear into the new 6 Bruce Willis features.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We've had, like, for Mandalorian season 2, we put out video episodes on our Instagram, like exclusive to our Instagram account. We had one video episode per episode of Mandalorian season 2, and we're constantly talking about how can we do more. It's just that, like, you know, with timing and with 2 young children and a family for me, and it's just really hard to make it all work.
He's like, and then there's Gabe.
And he can step up,
raise my kids.
raise my kids.
No,
You know, you guys seem to do just what you're passionate about, and I appreciate that because, you know, it shows how much you care. So, you know, you got a whole list there. I mean, don't do what you're not passionate about, you know. But what drives you is what you guys are going to talk about, and you guys do such a great job with it. So,
Thanks. That's good feedback because I'm constantly wondering who's listening and why and what we should do next. You know, I love feedback.
What I think it's like is like, remember in high school, just imagine you're sitting there, you just kind of look around and see a bunch of people talking to their own clique. And then there's you and Gabe, Steven, just sitting there conversating about stuff. And the person that's listening to you is like, these guys sound pretty cool. I want to know what they're talking about. And then eventually they go sit with you. And then you got your audience and it builds from that. That's what I get when I listen to you guys. The chemistry is good, just like the chemistry is with me, Alan, and Alfie. It's very, it's not intentional. It's comfortable. So your comfortable conversation invites people to come in and want to listen to you and want to engage. You'd be like, I like what these guys are talking about. Whether I'm gonna watch the movie or TV series or not, they're very passionate about it, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure other people appreciate the passion that you guys bring. Whatever shows you want to or movies you want to talk about on your cast. And that's what I think. I think that's what you both bring to the table, and that's what I like when I listen to you guys.
Thanks so much. That's super encouraging, actually. Thank you.
that's the dream. The click destroyer.
Gabe's uncomfortable with my vulnerability.
Yeah, not getting his compliments right now.
No more compliments.
You know, a lot of podcasts have like names for their followers. Like we have the Knights of the NWO. You guys have anything? Oh man, that's something we got to think about.
I think even if there was something,
I know.
Gabe and I would tear it apart to death. It would, because we
call them the cultists, the pop cult,
the
the culties.
What I was gonna say.
I don't know.
We don't like taboos, or what am I trying to say here? Labels. Yeah, like we've joked before about having like a Patreon and like doing stuff like that. Like
Just to make
check out our website and our Patreon. Just because like the moment that it becomes about that, and for me, like, and I think for Gabe too, is just like, also we steal a lot of music, so I don't want to get like
the mouse
stuck
is
in
coming
something.
for us.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, we really try to like not put labels on stuff.
I don't think there's even really much of a
Following.
yeah. So it's
It's
fine.
you guys and our friends in Oklahoma.
Steven's mom.
Yeah, my mom, my wife, and Gabe doesn't even listen to our podcast most of the time.
To be fair,
I live it.
I was there. Yeah, it would be fun though. We've talked about
Cult heads.
Pop heads. It'd be fun to do some kind of, because Steven is he updates the Instagram a lot. He puts a lot of cool stuff there, but there's never really an avenue for engagement. I think with what would be a community, you know, like there's no way, like, because the NWO has like, you know, all these different platforms. And
I
Facebook,
do not have
for
a
instance,
Facebook yet.
I don't know. We don't have that, so
Step up, Gabe.
I
like posting. Posting's my favorite.
Drifting. Yeah, but it's fun. It's at the end of the day, we we would probably do it the same way if there was no engagement at all. It'd be nice, but we're not getting paid, so
Money's
we make the time.
beneficial
Yeah.
to living. Yeah, we do make
Where can people find you? Which platforms?
podcast platforms. You mean, or you mean
Yeah.
like social media? I guess
both.
We have an Instagram. It is at the Cult Popcast. I have to say that very slowly.
That's
and enunciate.
CULTPOP.
And we also have a Twitter account that we do not use. I asked Gabe to take it.
Step up, man. I don't go on Twitter. Twitter is a mistake.
You can just...
Twitter is a terrible social
So
experiment.
don't look us up on Twitter, at least now. I feel like you could make it really fun.
I feel like I could do it.
Yeah.
Give it to me right. I'll do it.
Really?
I'll do the Twitter. Yeah, you give me the keys to the Twitter. I'll make some dope tweets.
You could be about anything. I think it'd be hilarious if the Cult Podcast Twitter account was
Just popping off.
just nothing. It was like about like food reviews, like things you ate that day.
Just had a Taco Bell.
Well, Subway was slightly worse than it was yesterday. Anyway,
Hashtag Subway.
hashtag Cult Podcast.
Hashtag Eat Fresh.
Hashtag watch movies.
There you go.
No,
be so
but
fun.
yeah, we have an Instagram. We have that's it.
No, but you can find the cast. On,
Yeah, if you looked on
Podbean.
Spotify or Apple or
It's on Apple.
yeah,
There you go.
That's where I listen to it mostly.
or anything that has podcasts that play them. Yeah, we're on everything, at least to my knowledge. I haven't looked up on everything, but when I've seen reviews and stuff, it shows like people listening to it on these platforms, and so I think we're on Google Play too. So
Is Spotify the biggest?
I try to make Spotify the biggest because Apple doesn't represent the colors of the episodes.
I
So
don't
I'm
know
like,
about the colors.
yeah, there you go.
Damn.
So that's why I'm always posting on Spotify saying click the Spotify link and you can see kind of like the rainbow effect when you look through our episodes on Spotify.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Instagram.
The Instagram's dope.
If you DM me, I will talk to you because I love talking to people.
Steven loves slipping into those DMs. Slipping, sliding.
Thank you guys so much for being on the show. It's just a pleasure. It's an honor. It's something that Joe, Alf, and I have been talking about for a while, and we've been trying to coordinate with you guys. And this is just amazing for me. Thank you guys so much.
Anytime you want us to come on,
It's our pleasure.
just access.
We will do that. What are your final thoughts or final words for the ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order?
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's healthy and happy and experiencing something that they love. To quote Dale, is it Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks?
Dale Earnhardt.
No, Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks.
Yeah. That's some good coffee.
No, it's not. What's the quote? Hold on, let me think for 1 second. It's every day, once a day, give yourself a present.
So until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds Redefined.
Booyah!